we can hear you.
Right, great. Good to have you all back. I learned about some few challenges you had with your tutor last week because of the WhatsApp, the Zoom link he shared.
Yes, madam.
Okay. So we will try and quickly, like I promised by message to you all, we'll try and quickly go through the unit 5 on laws. Let me know, first of all, if we have any questions, if you have engaged the content and you have any questions first,
Yes.
then I'll throw some light. So please, if you have a question, would you kindly raise your hand, please? Then we take.
Madam, please, I have a question.
May I know who is speaking now? Is it Evelyn?
Evelyn. Yes,
Evelyn
ma'am.
Jumbo. Go ahead, Evelyn.
Yes. Okay. Please, I came across this sentence, a passage, kind of. It said, those of you who are privileged to be reading information studies should consider yourself way ahead of information. You should be able to search for information, know how to handle information in order to be able to provide information for those who need information. Please, what kind of error is that?
Do you see any error yourself?
Yes, because information runs.
No problem. Which not the part that it is running through. It could run through and it might not necessarily be equivocal. See, but I think that there is a shift of meaning from one meanings you associate with information to another. So information studies, what we mean by information studies, and the other uses that you see there are oscillating. It's moving from one of the meanings to the other. So it's one word repeatedly used, but each time it is used, there is another connotation of that same word being applied. That's why we would think of it as equivocal. I'll have to look at it closely though, yes. But I think that if there is an error at all, it will be something around equivocation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you too. Is there any question again? Please keep your hand up. If there's a question, you keep your hand up so that we'll clear them quickly. I don't see any hand. Where is the other half of the class? I hope they are not lost. I hope they are not using the TA Zoom because I'm engaging you today. So I'm using the regular class link. If you have a platform somewhere, you could update them so that they don't get lost. Okay, so I'll start going through the unit 5. I hope you can see my screen. Please, is my screen visible? Can you see the types of discourse? Correcting ambiguity. Exactly. Okay, so we can quickly walk through it. So I did the first part of this slide set with you. How to identify ambiguity, vagueness, and equivocation. Then illustrations of ambiguity. Ambiguity is committed, I said it the last time, when there is only one thing said, but it has more than one meaning. That one thing that has been said, one statement, one phrase, one clause, one newspaper headline, whatever it is. When you read it, it could mean more than one thing, the same thing, but then it could have more than one meaning. Then you say that the expression is ambiguous and you have to seek for clarity. Else, you are saying something, you intend it to be something, but the person listening to you will hear what you are saying differently because what you are saying can mean A, what you are thinking, and it could also mean B, what the person is also thinking. Therefore, you have to clarify by being a bit more explicit to avoid ambiguity. So that is just the equivocation, we saw it earlier. And vagueness, you are so extremely general that you are indeterminate, you are not specifying what you are referencing. Then, so we went through those ones and I want to quickly skip through. So you recall all these, I hope you recall them. Then it takes us to substantive and verbal. I also touched on that. Verbal, from the word verb, language. The disagreement borders on language. There is no clarity in the use of language, either because I'm saying the same thing, but you are saying that same thing differently. So if we were to interpret it, we are saying the same thing. She's a nurse. You say, no, she's not a nurse, but she is a health worker. I mean, a nurse is a health worker. So we are not really disagreeing. It's language. It's verbal. We can correct that by what? Putting some consistency in the use of the language by stipulating meaning When we stipulate, it means we agree. We can agree that, oh, we can say, but nurses are actually health workers. I will say, case died. It was merely verbal. Okay. But sometimes the dispute is not just verbal. See, sometimes it is substantive. We are dealing with substance. And I'm saying that even if it is a factual matter, sometimes it can be reduced to verbal. In other words, we can easily deal with it and clear it off, even if it's about fact. The real substantive disagreements often border on what? Values. Because values are not the same for everyone. Okay. So if our disagreement is about values, in other words, we are pulling strings over what should constitute something, value judgment, how the world should be, not how the world is. So my view of what beauty is, or what it means to be Christian, my view, cannot be imposed on another person, you see. And you can bring all the facts available. It might never resolve it because we are dealing with substance, the substantive disagreement. That's why some people will not wear earrings. And they are reading the Bible that you and I say we are reading, but they don't wear earrings. Another person will not eat fish that has not been skilled. And he's seeing it from the Bible. Another person will not sit for a woman to preach on the pulpit, the same Bible. We have others to do the opposite. If you bring the Bible, we won't resolve it because the disagreement is not about what we are viewing in the scripture, but it's how we are interpreting what we are viewing in the scripture, our viewpoint. So I gave an illustration when I was teaching as value judgment to help make the point that we cannot be looking at the picture of a sister. One of us is saying, the guys, one brother is saying, she's so pretty. My lady is so beautiful. Look, you know, she says she dey be. And he's showing you the picture. And you're also a brother like him. You want to show solidarity and all. Actually, when you look on the picture, you're looking. The fact is presented to you. But when you look, you don't see beautiful. And nobody can force you to see beautiful. Because it is what you prescribe. Value judgments are our view of the matter, not the fact. Okay, but if I said taller than, remember our value judgment discussion. If I said that our lecturer is taller than her husband, it is a matter of fact. We can factually observe to ascertain the truth or falsity of that. But if you say my lecturer is better than the other lecturer, or this lecturer is better than the other, that is a value, a value judgment to Tom, good, better, best. Good is the word, its comparative form is of better, and then best is its superlative. It is a value judgment, what I see of the person. That is what is coming to play when you do open textured versus, what's the other one? Open textured words versus essentially contestable words. We saw that, and some of the groups did their assignment one on that. Their essay was on that. If I say justice, don't think that there is a clearly defined notion of justice. The one that we can agree on in Ghana may be what our constitution defines for us, but it might not be the same with, say, Saudi Arabia's laws or Russia's law or North Korea's laws, what they call just. It will be confined to a certain frame, okay, which can be contested. We can argue, contest here, not a competition contest, no, but context, to argue about it, to raise an objection. Why? Because of the nature of the word. It is coming from our discussion of value judgment versus factual statement versus definition. That is what is translating to types of what? Terms, essentially contestable terms. Development. Who is determining who is developed and who is not? Okay, because of the nature of the word. You say, my child, maturity. Who defines maturity? Infidelity, family. They are terms that have varied several interpretations, which cannot be easily accepted by all. It will have contestation about it. That's why we keep engaging, we keep refining, we keep reviewing. But there are other terms, other concepts that are clearly defined. It doesn't lend itself to further deliberation. We saw all of that. I want you to get a connection Okay, it is from value judgment versus factual statement and definitions that we moved up and saw how it will lead to what essentially contestable terms, also called what open class concepts, versus well-defined terms. Okay. Then the same underlying grounds brings us all the way to what? Verbal dispute versus substantive disagreement. When we are disagreeing substantively, it means we have different viewpoints about the matter. So it is not like the language one we see on the screen, but what? It is like this one. She's a nurse because she has a certificate from the training school. Because I'm giving you the reason why I take her to be a nurse. You say, no, she's not a nurse. She's not really a nurse, says this person, because she does not take care of her patients. You think this one is about going to bring certificates to prove something? No, bring all the certificates in the world that the nurse has, that lady has. Kojo, the second person there, cannot accept it. And Kojo is not accepting it because what he thinks what a nurse should our systems and our social policies and whatever they are regime changes, trying to show you that look, the way we conceptualize our governance is problematic. The way we think of parenting has a problem. Mass teachers must have some orientation. They are not helping our children to understand. It means that there is a status quo, but the person thinks it should be otherwise. Value judgment, viewpoint, substantive disagreement. Don't forget, you have to get that. So that when you are engaging two people, one of the groups, the question I gave them was, if you wanted to resolve a dispute, a supposed family dispute about a land that has been left by, an ancestor that has passed, say a grandmother that has passed and left lands for the family. Then there are two sections of the family. Apparently, one group thinks that these other group A, are not entitled to anything from that woman because they are not the biological children of the woman. How we say it, they are not her blood. Why do they want her land? Then the other group says, no, but I was adopted. And I stayed with this woman since my child. She adopted me as a baby. And I've been her child I've been her friend and child, and she's been my mother since childhood. I am all that she has. I took care of her. I helped her. We worked together. Blah, blah, so I'm her child. This person says, no, you are not her child, but you are not her blood. Do you think that is a verbal dispute? No. I'm grading them. I'm grading those assessments. Some of them we have overlooked them because we are not. I wasn't focused really on marking correct or wrong answers. I was interested in grading critical ability to critique. And some of you have not done group 34. I've not completed group 34, but I've fished out the typically plagiarized ones, and they've already seen their 0 or 1 or 2 over 10. You see. But those that have finished, the course sites that I have finished have sent notice. Some did really brilliant. You see, work independently. Do we a penny? I mean, university is not for children, right? Right. So that we will see your thoughts. So we're not really marking whether you should say verbal or substantive. Is actually correct or wrong. It is the critical ability we graded. So if you made an effort at it, you see that you get a full mark, 10 over 10. Not to go and take University of Caloviana University, someone's submission that they send it, they cut and paste it, embarrassingly present it as yours. And the system catches you, flags you red. I've not seen that with this group yet. So good job, but we'll finish grading hopefully before the weekends and then give you up. So what? So I'm saying that question, if you got it, is not asking you to tell us verbal or to tell us that it wasn't verbal. They are not disagreeing about the meaning of family. They are disagreeing about their viewpoint of who a family member should be. What should make someone a family member? It is a value. In other words, the disagreement is substantive. So if you come and say family member is someone who is the blood relation, so to speak, of the other person. Didn't we all come from Adam? If we are at least Christians or Muslim or religious, let's say that. Then we all came from Adam. Aren't we all one blood then? So what is the problem? But another person says, no, I'm talking about the blood, the immediate blood that this woman has. This one was adopted, so she's not a blood. They have different conceptions of what should constitute a relative or family member. That is why it is a big, serious issue. Okay, so small examples are on your screen. We did all of that last 2 weeks. I'm just trying to recap. So it takes us to the laws. Now see. Then this is where your TA took you through. Normative laws, what versus empirical law. The word laws simply stands for what? A generalization, a uniformity, a regularity. When we say something is a law, it is just capturing what? A uniformity, a general, not part, not some. The law doesn't leave anybody out, okay? Now, logicians want you to be conscious of what? Two ways of thinking about the word what? Law. Okay, law, two ways of thinking, so two kinds of laws, two categorizations of laws. The normative sense of the word law, and then the empirical sense of the word law. Empirical means from the word observation, from factual. So remember your unit 1, factual generalization. It is based on what you have observed consistently. So when you have a law that is empirical in nature, it simply means we observed several instances, and then we saw what? Irregularity. And so we are projecting that is how it will be always. For example, Yaya got pregnant, she delivered in 9 months. It's a lady. Adwa got pregnant, she delivered in 9 months. Mansa got pregnant, she delivered in 9 months. They are all ladies. So we will then conclude empirically and say all women who get pregnant deliver in 9 months. That is how empirical laws, scientific laws operate. Now, I want you to be cautious when you're using scientific, the word scientific, because you can think of a deductive sense of science, and you can think of an inductive sense of science. Don't worry about these big words. Just understand that it isn't all science that is typically what? Observation-based. Some are mathematical, deductive in nature, logical in nature. So you don't need to observe as in using your 5 senses. You rather deduce. But for now, we are talking about the empirical sciences, the ones that you observe to arrive at your conclusion. So how do you know that whenever prices of goods and services are increased, quantity demanded decreases? How does the economist come to that? Cons is a social science. Okay. How do you come by that? How do you notice that social deviants are a result of what? Broken homes? How? That's sociology, isn't it? The psychologist may say that, whatever. I want a theoretical example. All those generalizations they make are as a result of particular observation. You need to get it. If you get this, you have done half of your unit 7 already, which is in your dossier there at your resource 2. I have shared a dossier that has all the recordings on unit 6, unit 7, unit 9, 10. They are recorded lectures from the particular team of lecturers teaching that I will put all together and then use to examine you. Those contents are relatively heavy and a little bit more technical, we think. So you need to be guided. So these are recorded, uninterrupted recorded lectures that are there by the examiners of that course, okay, of that unit. However, the earlier units, unit 1, 2, 3, 5, they are accessible to you. You should be able to read it, read the textbook, engage the slides, please, the interactive sessions, your tutorials, what have you, and you should do fine if you put in a little effort on them. Okay. So I'm saying that unit 7, that is there. I think I did that recording, I've forgotten. I think it's my recording that we have uploaded for you for the whole group, main and city campus for this semester. Engage it. If you get the unit 5 discussion on laws very well, you have weathered half of the unit 7, and you should do fine then. What is the point then? The point is there is normative law and empirical law. And I have just tried to explain the law that we describe as what? Empirical. It is based on what? Particular instances. Gather so many instances that corroborate that conclusion you are drawing. And then you make a generalization from that. Remember, we said laws are general. They are generalizations. So if you tell me that you have seen Mansa, she got pregnant and delivered in 9 months. You saw Kofia. Kofia, a woman, she also got pregnant, she delivered in 9 months. And so you keep listing. You list about 4, 5, 6, 10, 100 women who got pregnant and delivered in 9 months. Therefore, you conclude that all women deliver in 9 months' time after pregnancy. Now, your conclusion is an empirical generalization based on the particular factual instances that you had in the past. You dated Adjoa, she was a woman, she cheated. You dated Adjo, a woman, cheated. You dated Zena, woman, she cheated. Therefore, you say, as for women, episode and they, as for women, they are cheat. I don't want it. And the brother to say, the sister to say, men are not reliable, based on some particular instances of men she had been with. The conclusion, take note, the conclusion you are drawing, which is that all men are so and so, all women are done so and so, or all metals expand when heated, or anytime you throw a ball up, it comes down, etc. These are general statements. Whenever prices of goods and services are increased, quantity demanded falls. These generalizations are based on particular instances that you have observed in the past. That is why the conclusion is empirical. Now, there comes the very important thing you must take note of. It means, therefore, that yesterday may not necessarily be like tomorrow. If you are making your note, write that down. That yesterday, the fact that you saw it to be so yesterday does not mean tomorrow too will be like that. So the conclusion you are drawing based on your factual observations may fail. You're dealing with empirical laws now. It may fail. You may encounter a sister who will get pregnant, and 7 months, the baby said they are coming out. It will not wait till 9 months. You can't tell the baby to remain in your tummy. That don't come. If you come, you are breaking the law of biology. Biology says you must give birth in 9 months. No, it may fail because the law is empirical in nature, friends. There can be a counterfactual. That's what you are writing technically now, or you wrote earlier. Write it technically now. There can be a counterfactual. Counter means opposite. Fact, opposite to the fact. I will ask all these questions in your eye, 8 week. There can be a counterfactual when you are dealing with an empirical law. So maybe there might be a brilliantly arrived as a law of psychology or sociology or political science, or these are all science, empirical science. That's why they fail sometimes, especially if you don't do your analysis of the data well. It will fail, but you'll be telling people, I always say that they are in a comfortable league. Meanwhile, they are last week with a big margin. But you'll be telling them that disappointing people by your analysis. You see? So it is important to understand that these laws, these regularities, these generalizations we arrive at after observing particular instances are only predictions. Look on my screen, you see predictions there. Push. Yeah. They are predictions. It means that you have observed so many metals, for example, in the past, particular metals that expanded when heated. Maybe iron is a metal, it expanded when heated. Tin, the metal expanded when heated. Bronze, brass, you can keep listing them. Several particular instances that expanded when heated. Therefore, you project and make a general claim that, oh, then all metals expand when heated. It could fail, Auntie. All planets orbit the sun. They all go around the sun. You may find a planet that will not orbit. It won't go around the sun. I don't created the world. You may discover another. This is unit 7. This is the heartbeat of unit 7, inductive reasoning in everyday life, in the sciences and everyday life. Okay. you may find another person with, what's the name of the thing? Sickle cell, whatever in the system, that will not die at 80 years. And that will be the revolution we are looking for, to change our so-called general statement that if the person is sickle cell, whatever, then by 80 years, he or she will be dead. That has been falsified. And we are happy about it, because then it makes us find other alternative ways of dealing with that sickness. That fibroid size that you are so shocked. You see, our research says it cannot accommodate a baby. We could get a certain counterfactual that will negate what we thought we knew all this while from our particular instances. It is important to see the point here. So when the law is empirical, you're posturing towards it as a critical mind, you and I, and others that you go and impart in your various disciplines. Your posture should be what? Let the person understand, you yourself, the one imparting that law, and those listening should have the posture that this is what? A prediction, a hypothetical statement. It can fail. But for now, that is what we have based on our observation. So they can tell you that if the clouds gather at the northeastern part of Ghana, or that hill, up the hill, the right side of that northeastern part, whenever the clouds gather, look at the language, whenever, I'm speaking a generalization, whenever the clouds gather there, it rains. So yeah, the farm working, then grandpa will say, no, look up there, better. We have to get ready and start moving towards the house. It will rain. Why? Because all his 70-something years of being in the Brima Mountains there, when he's weeding, he's on the farm working, the clouds gather and so angle, it rains. Now, when he tells you that, you are wise if you take your cutlass and start moving towards the home. Why? Because he has enough evidence from the past. But do you know that it could fail? It could, because it's an empirical law. So it is not a normative law. There comes the contrast. It is not a prescription. Now you understand. Remember value judgment. Empirical laws are only descriptions. They are describing what we have seen in the past, like decoding. It is inside the thing. You are just opening it up to see. If you go and what is inside changes, you change your law prediction. But normative laws are not like that. Normative laws are prescriptions. That is how it must be done. That is how it should be. Should value judgment. We have that expectation of the person. So, for example, if you have your textbook and you should, even if you don't own it yourself, you must have one that you study with. It will give you content. That's why we gave you all the channels to get it. You will see that you have been given several examples of laws: the mathematical laws, divine laws, moral codes, or the other one, customary laws, statutory laws. They prescribe how you should live. You go to Rome, you do what the Romans do. You want to stay in Accra, then it's Alagbemi. And it's this time, no drumming, no, what's the other one? No noise making. That is how it should be done. You don't have a say. Then live. Go and live somewhere. Or do a soundproof something. Shout your head off in your room. No one will come to your room. But you cannot break that law. You can't say as for you 2 + 3. Now I've entered into mathematical law. Can you say I'm shifting? Yeah. Let's say 2 + 3 for you has become 7 cedis. You're going to buy 2 cedis wele at the market. Then you say, Auntie, please add tuna, 3 cedis to my soup. First, you buy wele 2 cedis. Then you said they should add 3 cedis tuna to the banku airport. You're going to finish eating. You paid only the banku. Now come and pay for the protein you added and the wele. You say, oh, let 2 cedis ekome, then 3 cedis. So better pay 4 cedis. The woman doesn't write, she can't write 4 cedis, but she understands 4 cedis. 2 cedis plus 3 cedis is not equal to 4 cedis. They will beat you at the market. And the people have never been to school. They don't write formally, but they don't need to write. A visually impaired person, someone who cannot see, need not see the money they put in the container. Understand? He can't see the figure, but he can understand. If you told him that, oh, some auntie came to pass, he gave you 2 cedis. You are the one assisting him. He's blind. He can't see visually. Yeah? But you are assisting him. Then you told him that your lecturer came to pass. She has given you 2 cedis. Then now the class rep also came to pass. He has added 3 cedis, 2 cedis plus 3 cedis. Now, when he has closed and is going home, you are telling him that the 2 cedis plus the 3 cedis go to 1 cedi, okay? Then he tells you, oh, but he said 2 cedis first. He said, yes. Then he said, right now they've added 3 cedis. He said, yes. But then how can that be equal to 1 cedi? You want to tell him he cannot see. You can't see, so 2 cedis plus 3 cedis has become 1 cedi. No, I don't need to see. He will hit you with his stick. He will try and find you and hit you with a stick. Because mathematical laws are not seen. The laws are not, they are prescriptive, they are understood. It's how we think. It's like logical laws. So you cannot tell me you were not at the voting grounds. You never went there. That place where I have never been there when they were voting. However, when you were there and they were voting, so you didn't touch the box. What are you saying? Then you are coming to say, oh, but you were not there, we were there. I don't have to be there. What you are saying is problematic. It can't be so. Logically, were you there or not? Do you know that it can never be true in heaven right now that naked angels are wearing suits? If they are naked, they can't be wearing suits. We don't care where it is happening, whether in heaven or hell, whether the person will go to heaven or not is not the issue. The meaning of the statement cannot be why, because of how we should think. Logical laws, mathematical laws, moral codes. If you wear a bikini to the lecture hall, people's eyebrows will tell you that you cannot wear a bikini to the lecture hall. And so those are the laws that you will see there. All of them are normative, how things are to be done. Some people want to define normative laws as man-made. It is not exactly correct. It will not be a clearly defined way of distinguishing normative laws from empirical, because divine codes or divine laws are not man-made, supposedly. They are discovered by man, but they are not man-made. So now your textbook gives you statutory laws. Certain states will say, if you still cut off your hand. Another one will say, if you still, will give you 3 days. Someone to go and still go to spend 3 years. And another person will steal so much from the nation, you walk around and be a star. Okay, so what is the point? Whereas normative laws will not allow you to admit of what? Disobedience. See how I'm speaking it. If you disobey that law, you will be forced to what? Conform, to oblige the law, to agree with the law. Okay, that's normative law. It doesn't admit of exceptions. That simply means if you disobey or break the law, you'll be forced to conform. That's why when you write 2 plus 7, 2 plus 7, we expect you to write what? 9. Then you will go and write 2 plus 7 equals 10. We'll give you wrong. When we learn our modus ponens and co, if P then Q, P has happened. Therefore, Q must follow. Modus ponens. You say that P then Q. P, therefore what? What do you want to write? I want to write something else. We'll give you wrong. We'll let you conform. You steal someone's laptop. We'll tell you that is not how we operate in this our department. The law will let you conform. That's the nature of normative laws. So you are not allowed to deviate or disobey it. You see where I moved from customary to statutory to moral code, divine, all the others that you see there. The only exception there in your textbook is what? Empirical law. That one admits of deviation. It allows for exception. In fact, it is only a prediction that whenever you increase prices of goods and services, I'll buy less. So now I'll buy a teaspoon of fuel for my car. How will I move the car? There are exceptions. Okay, so those laws are not really doing what a law must do. A law must not allow for any exemption. If it is a law, the law is no respecter of person. Okay, these are differences between normative and empirical law. It might be one of your exam questions, final exam. In the space provided below, write 3 different differences between normative laws and empirical laws with illustration. Then maybe it's worth 5 minutes. And you can do it. When a law is normative, when it is empirical, and you are good. Okay, so there are several normative laws in your textbook. I've given them to you: statutory laws, constitutional laws, criminal codes, what's the other? Customary laws, social norms, mathematical, divine, all the other laws there in that unit, in your book there, are normative. What does that mean? They are prescriptive. What does that mean? They do not allow exceptions. What does that mean? If you disobey, you will be forced to conform. The law doesn't admit exceptions. Always remember maths 2 plus 3. Then you 2 plus 3 want to write 7. Won't your math teacher can you? But look at the empirical law. Women deliver in 9 months. Then someone is going to give birth. The child is coming 7 months. Who will go and cane that child for coming at 7 months? Who will go and change our law rather? And say, Asumwa, not knowing some children can be preterm. Or some they like the inside there. The world is too hot. They won't come. 9.5, 10 months, they are there. We say, yeah, we're not so right after all. There can be exceptions. Oh, apparently there are some metals that do not expand when heated. Oh, let's find them. So we use them for this, our jewelry and what have you. Oh, not knowing that there can be necessary goods. So those goods, even if you increase prices of goods and services, we don't buy less of them. What? You start drinking a teaspoon of water. You see, so we qualify. There are people, it is when you increase prices rather than they will buy that product. They come and show some brother that they are guy. Tell you this one is Rolex, correct one, and then very expensive. That's the one you buy. Look at the footballers. So there are exceptions to empirical laws. And therefore, we think of them as what? Predictions, which can fail. So on the screen now, you see that normative laws prescribe how the world should be, while empirical laws only describe how the world has been. This has implications, okay, which I've tried to connect you to. Scientific laws are described as empirical. They are law-like hypotheses. I told you they don't do what laws typically do. Because laws shouldn't allow for exceptions, okay? But empirical laws allow for exceptions. So we say they are like laws. They are like it, law-like hypotheses. Why do we call them hypotheses? They are subject to further study. It is not a conclusion. It is a thesis that has been blown out of proportion. Listen to the unit 7 ahead to help you. You did it for your IA. IA is on unit 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. And IA is in the 8th week. And this is the 6th week for you people. You need to cover all. That's why I'm connecting the discussion. I would have finished with this and moved on. But you need a lot of substance here, which will help your unit 7 understanding. Okay? So I'm saying that hypothesis only means a thesis statement, it's a thesis, that has been blown out of proportion. You have hyped it, the hype event. It means you've made noise about it, you've made it bigger than maybe it is in reality. Okay? So it is a conclusion you are drawing, but what? It is blown out of proportion. It is itself not conclusive. Where it is subject to what? Further study, hypothesis. That is how we call the conclusion of an inductive argument. We don't call it a conclusion because you haven't finished. It is subject to further study. Okay. And then we think of such empirical laws as what? Predictions, which can fail. If I predict that whenever the clouds gather, when I speak that way, no matter how informed it is, it can fail. Friends, our meteorologists give us sometimes, after a very hard work that they've done, they will tell us, so it's not safe to stay at McCarthy Hills or so and so and so and so. Okay. Or it will rain tomorrow. And so you two don't go to work. So almost say and that day the sun shines, and by this and sisters in the Lord. And it is not because someone didn't do their job. Just remember what I said. If the laws they are operating with are empirical, note, yesterday need not necessarily be like tomorrow. It may change. That's why there is an owner of the world. Okay. So the other laws listed in your textbook prescribe and therefore must be obeyed. And I'm sure that with this, you should be all well able to see. Discussion of the 6 senses or the 6 connotations of the word laws. There are 2 main categories that we have looked at. The empirical one versus the normative. And the normative, you will see all the ones that you see on my screen here. Customary, cultural norm, social rule, convention, they are all under civil law and statutory law. See that? Then you can have them. Look at civil laws and statutory laws. Some of you take some cases to court, they say it's a civil case. Then another one, they say, no, it's civil. It's not a misdemeanor crime, it is a criminal matter. You can't go open your mouth any angle, friends, and be talking things that are treasonable. Before you know it, you are sleeping at a place that you never thought you would sleep that night. But you can, sometimes you just want to scratch your lady neighbor's face, scratch your faces. When you go, they will ask you, oh, I said that during the introduction. You go home and go and look for the krobe, then the other person to look for whatever. And auntie gave me another name here. No, it's a civil matter. But when you go and rape your own son or your own daughter, it is not a simple matter. It is as soon as a jar of bente versus Mati. It is a jar of bentum versus the state. Yo, Mati. It's a jar bentum versus the state. It's a criminal matter. Meanwhile, they are all laws. Okay. I think that point is well made. Then we come to what? Moral laws. I told you about morality. And why, if we make our debate sometimes on our morality, we may not be able to resolve, because the notion of law, even though we can prescribe how we should do things, perhaps it might be your eyebrow. Sometimes we may use their tongues to change another person. And they say, for you to do that, something is not done right. And the social norm or the social convention, sometimes I reference Commonwealth guys on campus here. Okay, if you come and wear red, nowadays I think they're a little bit calm about it. But in the past, you can't wear red and be working on campus like it is your home. You will be confused, sisters, especially if you come with high heel. You are walking towards the great hall in red. Right. They will do and follow you with it until you go and change your red. Because it's against the norm here. Just the same way that if you went to play tennis, like I said the last time, in your kaba and slit. You're holier than that, in kaba, slit, socks, gloves, scarf. You have your hijab on and this because you are trying to be holy. And you're going to play tennis. It is against the norm. Normative. We'll look at you in a certain way and you see that something is wrong. Or we are all at table and you are chewing the thing. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so these are all supposed to be the norm. I'm trying to let norm drum down respectfully to your head that is how you should do things. It's not describing how things are done, but how things should be done or must be done. Okay, if you got that, then the others, I mentioned them for you. Edward, I've seen your hand there. I want to finish the unit 5, then when I'm going to unit 6, I'll take all the questions. So keep it up, don't put it down. Okay, mathematical or divine law, etc. This is the point I made about 2 ways of thinking of normative statement. When we say this is on your page 120, you will see they don't get confused. Normative statements can be thought of in 2 ways. The law-like hypotheses are thought, look at, those are what? Factual generalizations. Then theoretical definitions. When I say a biological sister is a female sibling, I'm defining definitions, topic 1. A whale is a mammal, I'm defining. But you see that a whale is a mammal could also be what? A description of what you have seen. I told you about the overlaps. So the statement presents itself as if it is a description, and yet it could be a prescription as well. Remember that our example, many Ghanaians do not approve of same-sex marriage. If I said many Ghanaians do not approve of same-sex marriage, look at it, is as if I'm stating a fact, something that you can observe. I mean, we can count the number of Ghanaians that say yes or no to same-sex marriage to ascertain the truth or falsity of what we are saying. See that? Yet the word approve seems to be what? A value. An approval is a judgment. See, so the statement could be both factual and value. And as critical minds, we are showing you that it is not always a matter of white versus black. Sometimes there are gray areas. That is something like what is going on the screen here. A normative statement that is prescribing and at the same time defining. Any questions? Let me take questions on the unit 5. We are done. I put the information there for you that you can go to your unit 5. You see the examples there, and you should be able to identify them. I want to take your questions. Please keep all the hands up because I want to give time to address the concerns people may have. Edward Wachise, go ahead with your question. You are muted, so you may want to unmute and then you ask your question.
Hello.
Pastor. Go ahead, sir.
With the empirical law, please.
Yes, sir.
To state an example. For
Yes.
instance, all rabbits burn. All rabbits burn. Hello.
Sir, please, I can hear
All
you. It's
rabbits.
your recording colleagues
Okay.
that are betraying themselves there.
All rabbits
No,
burn
go ahead.
when brought to fire. Is this an example of an empirical law?
No. Please, are the people making the noise at your place, please? Are they with you? Then you could prompt them. If not, then. Yeah, dear. Oh, finish and then let me run again. Papa, I can see. Edward, is it at your background, please?
No, please, oh, no. From the class.
Okay, if you could kindly unmute only your mic now and then ask so that others can benefit, then I'll react. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Please,
Yes.
I was giving an example of the empirical formula and asking whether it's correct.
Please go ahead.
I was saying that let's say all rabbits get burnt when brought to fire.
Yes, you say all rabbits get bent when
All
brought to
burnt
yes.
when brought to fire.
It's an empirical
Is it
generalization.
a correct empirical law?
Yes. It is describing whatever the reason that you are saying what you are saying will be based on factual observations of the past. Yes.
Okay, so can I then say that it is a man-made law?
It is not a man-made law. What do you think? Is it man that made rubber band? Or man only discovered? Man only discovers that.
Where is Sister Jennifer?
Why? Man only discovers that rubber actually burns when heated.
Okay.
How did we know? Some rubber was sitting by the rubber, the heat, they got burned. Then my yogurt rubber too. When I finished, I threw it into the bin, it got burned. Then the other rubber that I used to cover the cassava when I bought, I saw that it melted. So by those particular instances, we come to the conclusion that rubbers burn when they get near fire. We may encounter a rubber in the near future, which will not expand when burnt. Any other question, please? Okay, let me take William Kwe, sir. Go ahead, sir. Please go ahead, Sir William. Oh, you are muted, sir. William Kwe. Okay, if William is a little engaged, let's take Emmanuel Frempong.
Madam, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Madam, please, looking at the empirical law, can we also say that can we also say that we normally wear black clothing during funerals day?
Yes, say it better so that it will be a generalization. So we can say that maybe Ghanaians wear black during funerals, and that would be a generalization, an empirical generalization.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Let me take Mr. Francis J.
Hello, madam.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Please, there is this saying that I want to be sure whether it is a normative law or empirical law. There is a saying that all adolescents or teenagers behave notoriously. Is it a normative law or empirical law?
Is it prescribing how teenagers should behave, or it is telling you how we have observed teenagers behave?
It is prescribing.
No,
they want them to.
No, it is prediction.
You see that we are saying that teenagers behave blah blah blah. See that?
Yes.
We are describing how we have seen them behave. We are just telling you what we see.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can have a teenager that would negate that easily, either positively or negatively. That is why it allows us to go into prediction. It's a prediction. It gives us hope that we shouldn't think that all teenagers will be so and so. Who as for these people, they are this. That. When we get to fallacies, you see informal fallacies. You see why we want to be careful with generalization. Before long, we'll criticize you for generalizing in a hasty generalization. A few instances, no, you want to speak for everybody. Who ask for these people there? Those people who come from so and so place. That's how they are. You two were only born yesterday. And you are saying something. Okay. So yeah, so that one is a generalization. Okay, an empirical.
Thank you, madam.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
Let me take Musa Zamadini. I hope I pronounced your name well. Yes.
Yes, ma'am, please. That's
Go
right.
ahead,
That's the
sir.
pronunciation.
Thank you.
Please,
Go ahead.
how would I put this context? Birds of a feather flock together.
What do you think?
What do I think?
Yes, that is not a description. Can you see? And it is not even a normative law. It is a, oh, I don't want to give you an answer. What do you think? Maybe we are not speaking literally. Can you see that? If I say birds of the same feathers flock together, I'm speaking figuratively. Yeah. Is it a proverb or is it a wise saying? It's a maxim.
It's a nice
So this falls in the category of use of language that we say you should bracket it, treat them specially. You see, don't interpret language used that way, literally, because they have a purpose. They are intentionally vague. So if I use proverbs, metaphors, idiomatic expression, when I say he has kicked the bucket, I intentionally spoke that way, hidden, so that it will take someone who is wise to open it out. So it is intentionally vague. So this is one of such categorizations of the use of language, which is purposefully, yes, vague. So it is not even making a generalization at all. It's a figurative way of speaking. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Welcome, sir. Let's take George Lai, sir. Then we can continue with our unit 6. I pray for grace so you understand. Sir George, you are muted. Okay, it wasn't a question. Mr. Pansi Seji, I think we have dealt with yours. Okay, so we can go quickly to the screen.
No, please, madam, I have another question.
Okay, go ahead and please ask.
Please, so are we saying that if the law can fail, then it is empirical law?
Yes, the focus really is on how the person is speaking. It's language. Critical thinkers are looking at the way you are speaking. You see, because we can't get into your head. Remember lecture 1. So we are listening to how you are speaking. If you say that a metal must expand when heated, it is not a description. You're not describing any longer. You see, you are saying that you expect, that is, if it is a metal, there was say expanding, the language. But if I say all metals expand when heated, I'm describing. That's what I have seen. If all metals expand, all women are cheap, all men have done this, all politicians are this, all pastors are. When you speak that way, especially the universal ones, we'll get to statistical generalization. Hopefully in due course. I'll take that also, quite a technical one. Okay. When you speak that, you are describing what you have seen, what you have observed, heard, touched. Whenever we throw a ball up, it comes down. You are only describing what you have observed. Don't we have a counterfactual already? Look at aeroplane. When you lift the aeroplane up, does it fall? Look at how heavy it is. Have you thought about it? I told the main campus students that look, and their videos are also uploaded on the channel. So those who are on my channel, maybe you can be engaging those also. They are interactive sessions. So depending on the questions the student asks, sometimes you're able to throw more light on the content. But I asked them, this small pen, very tiny pen you are holding, if you were standing by a swimming pool and you dropped it, it will sink into the pool. But a shipload of people, a ship full of people and pens and tables and chairs won't sink. Have you thought about it? It's a law. So a law, some laws counter certain laws. The law of flotation will counter the law of gravity, and the law of gravity too can counter. That's what science is doing. Empirical science is trying to discover. Discover means uncover it. ICGC, Mensa Otabil says that in the past, some of his adverts will say that science is only trying to discover, open that which has been covered, not putting the laws there. So maybe this is what we have discovered so far. And so we make our generalizations based on what we have discovered. If we discover a counter, an opposite, something contrary to what we knew in the past as scientists, empirical scientists, we will change the law to accommodate the new finding. I don't know, perhaps I might have mentioned it, but it is important to bring it in that for years, the whole earth thought that the earth is in the center of the universe. The whole world. That's what science told us. That the earth is in the center of the universe, the geocentric view of the universe. It was scientific discovery that told us that for years, perhaps hundreds or thousands of years, we're holding on to the geocentric view. It wasn't true, at least as we know it now. That it is rather the sun that is in the center of the universe, the heliocentric view. That's what we hold on to now. Could it be? Could it be that after thousands of years, perhaps we will discover that it wasn't so? We will only discover the laws that are operating or we are working with scientifically are only predictions that have been corroborated, supported with several evidence. We keep finding more that support what we think we know about the world. But we may find just one counterfactual which will negate what we thought we knew. That's why we must be open. Science is not dogma. Science must be open. If someone says, I have found a cure for HIV or whichever disease you fear, we shouldn't be in a hurry to silence the person and say, well, because we are the dons and the whatever of the discipline, and you know the research you've done and what. It might be just one counterfactual that has been discovered by someone else. Give room for research, a search and a research and a research. So be careful as a scientist when you make a statement like you cannot give birth because of what we know. You cannot? Who told you? Are you God? You are a scientist, only discovering a world of reality out there that has revealed itself to you per your research. You have to give room. So when you hear, you say, oh, hold on. Oh, we know so far, this your daughter. Per what we know, that's different from saying that she cannot. Then you declare the person. Declare. Say that we are inadequate, given what we know now. So try other alternatives outside of maybe orthodox medicine. That's a safe, genuine, mature response. We are showing that we are inadequate now to be able to do this. But some speak audaciously. Meanwhile, you are now discovering the person. Now we know that if people die and within the 5 minutes or so after the supposed clinical death, you can revive the person. It wasn't so in the past. You see, so science, okay, maybe we can, now people can even die in 3 days' time. They will resurrect the person and come and tell us that this is guy. It was scientific. His resurrection is scientific. And they say, wow. All right, my brother, so it is scientific. Okay. The other one wasn't. Sister Elizabeth, don't call. Let me take yours. Then I think that we'll pause and go quickly to our unit 6. Go ahead, please.
Madam. Please, my question is with regards to the slide. I just want to find out if there has been any amendments, because my slide is quite different from yours.
I gave you the unit 3 slides, right? What what I shared now had the unit 5 included, because I wasn't going to take you in the unit 5. It's just 2 slides that have been added. Everything there is in your textbook. Okay.
Oh, so
everything there
loaded earlier on Sakai.
What was there was unit 3. Did you see unit 5? I could check and see, but it's just 2 slides on unit 5 that I've added. Your textbook has plenty, all the laws, normative law, customary with examples and what have you, that I think so that we don't have a very long set of slides. Sometimes our slides are 96 per session. How will you learn? How will you learn 90? Slides are supposed to be pointers for you. Just pointers to help you know how to navigate your way in your text. Thankfully, we have a compiled set of slides, hard copy, that you can easily work with. Right. So I will look at it. If it doesn't have the normative, those 2 additions, I can easily put them there for you.
Okay, so with me, for instance, the deduction and induction is on session 8.
Deduction and induction is what we are going to do now. Right. It is there. It is in your slides. I uploaded it for you. I've named it Unit 6. When you say session, I won't be able to help you. I work with the textbook units. That's how the book is structured. I don't know what you are referencing. You know, the course has transitioned a little. The content hasn't changed much, but its posturing has changed per the coordinator working. Okay, I'm the current coordinator. So I help you better when I reference the textbook and the units there. Every unit is a topic, so to speak. That's how we have done it. So if you take unit 1, it's your topic 1. It will cover interrogative, declarative, what have you. When you take unit 2 on definitions, it will be your unit 2. Okay, so however you find convenient, just learn that way so we can have easy referencing. What this unit we are going to engage in a while, in some few minutes from now, is the unit 6 on induction and deduction. Okay, I don't know if that helps. So what should you know already? You should know unit 1, unit 2. Unit 1 discuss declaratives, imperatives, interrogative, the statements and the types. Factual statement, value judgment, what have you. They were all in unit 1. Implicit, explicit, what's the other one? Sentence fragment. Those ones, very easy. That's unit 1. Then unit 2, definitions, the types, connotation, denotation, what was the other one? Problems with definition, too narrow, too broad, secular, vague. All of those went on in unit 2. Then unit 3, I think unit 2 also touched on essentially contestable terms and well-defined notions. Then we come to unit 3, the one that I took you to briefly again today: ambiguity, equivocation, vagueness, types of discourse, you know, arguments versus the other types, instruction, polemical rhetoric. What's the other? I'm saying these things off my head, so help me if I leave one out. What's the other one? Polemical rhetoric, and then what? There were 4. So, and the narrative. So narrative, instruction, polemical rhetoric, argument. Those are the types of discourses in unit 3. Then verbal dispute versus substantive disagreement. They are also in unit 3, which we went on some few minutes ago. From there, you should see unit 4, which is not content for studying to come and write exam. It's content that the framers of the text put there to help you understand why certain courses are called, say, humanities, and others are social science, and others are social study. Why is it not a science, but a study, and so on and so forth, just for you to understand those categorizations. So you don't need to write an exam on unit 4. You can skip it and continue to unit 5, which we saw types of laws, empirical laws versus normative. Then under the normative, we have the various labels, what's it, customary, civil, blah, 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 to the end. There's only one type of empirical law there, the scientific law or natural law, which is the natural world out there. So as we discover, we make a projection and predict how fishes will behave when you take them out of water. For example, we'll say fish don't stay out of water after 5 minutes alive. You see, it's based on how we have observed fishes in the past. You may find another fish that 3 days is staying out of water is not dying. Will you say that this is not a fish? You will go and revise your law and say, except for, say, maybe octopus, or except for so and so fish, all fish die when they are not in water. Then you know something else about the world. Okay. So those ones are the empirical versus the normative, unit 5, and then now we are in unit 6. My lady, please, does that help?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Most welcome. So we can now go into our unit 6. Now you see that on the screen. Please, can you see? I've shared the unit 6 outline. On my screen now is contrasting deductive and inductive argument. Please, can you see it?
Yes,
can anyone see it? Okay, thank you very much. When I want yes, please. Then we will read. For this discussion, we want to first of all know the types of argument. I don't know how to, this one, the grace, we'll learn it by grace, and God will help us. The types of valid argument, and then we will do good. For today, let us cover the discussion on distinguishing deductive argument from inductive argument. You have to have a notepad by your side, please. It will help you write. So you are seeing, you are hearing, then you'll be writing down and practicing and thinking the 5 cognitive abilities should all be at work. You are seeing something on my screen, hopefully. You are listening to me as I talk and try to put something across by the help of God, of course. Then you are writing things down. The writing will help you. So your eyes saw it, your ears heard me, your hands did something. Your brain is thinking alongside with me as I ask questions and what have you. And then you are reflecting. And hopefully, it should help you get a better grasp of the content. I want to caution.
Ma'am, I'm sorry to interfere, but I can't see your screen, please. Thank you.
Could you
Hello.
okay? Could you refresh your gadget because I suspect others can see.
Please, I can't
can
hear.
anyone see?
Yeah, we can all see. We can see, madam.
Please speak for yourself.
Madam, I can see your screen.
We
Yeah, I
can
can
see.
see.
Yes, we can see.
Don't worry.
I can see it
Thank you
clear.
very much. Some can see. In fact, most of us it's a network thing. So don't worry. My brother who cannot see, just do like you're going off and come. Like we do with our phone. When it stays for a while, you see that it dims, depending on the setup, how you have set your phone up. It will remain lighted for long. Before long, you see that it goes off. But if you touch it or you refresh it or something, you see that. Okay, so try it and let's see. And you should do fine. Now, I just said I wanted to warn or caution us. And then someone else said he or she cannot hear. I'm shouting, my volume is 100%. I'm in the office, so I can shout alone. So I'm shouting. So I suspect that I might have to do with your gadget. If you could just increase the volume there or use the headpiece or earphone, it should help. Now, let me warn us, my dear friends. This unit is not difficult, but it's engaging. It needs full attention. It needs rapt attention. If you are breastfeeding, cuddle the baby, let him sleep. You need a very, alertness. Be very alert. Don't miss one step, okay? Because it's not like the ones we have done so far, which are purely language and interrogative, declarative, empirical. No, this is logic. What you are going to do is logic. It means that we are going to do the reasoning part of the content, the proper critical thinking. The rest are the raw materials that we used. So I tell students so that we will be on the same page when we are engaging. Then you will understand from class. Then the rest of the work is for you to just go and polish up and practice more with your tutors, peer engaging. You can send me. Some of you do. I don't know. Me, I don't mind much if the person is asking you substantive content. You just help out. And then that way you will get it. Why? So let's have that posture. Don't want a joke in your mind. See, be very rapt, have a rapt attention. If you get confused from start, this one can dismantle your critical thinking. Okay, but I hope that we are able to do that. So what should we know for Unit 6? By the time we finish our 1 hour or so left together, you should know the difference. Write it down yourself. You should know the difference between deduction and induction. There are two types of what? Argument. Argument just means giving reasons to support the claims that you make. Okay, giving reasons to support the claims you make. When you say something, then you give us the reason why we should accept it or reject it. Then we say you have argued. Not narration. Remember the types of discourse where you just told us how something happened, or instruction where you tell us how something should be done. Okay, a discourse, a passage that is telling us how we should do something is an instruction. Then a passage that is telling us how something was done. We went to the hospital, we waited. The doctors didn't come, so we have come home. This is not an argument. You narrated, okay, but it's a passage. Then we have polemical rhetoric, strong language capturing our feelings. What kind of government is this? Why at all did we come into this country, Ghana? Who brought me to Ghana? God will punish somebody one day. This passage is empty. Logically speaking, it's rubbish. We throw them out. It's emotive expression. Then we technically label it as what? Rhetorical polemic or polemical rhetoric. Okay, so those are not useful to the logician. The logician focuses on argument. Argument. What is that? A set of statements. Only one of which is what you really want to say, the conclusion. All the rest are what? The reasons, the evidence, the premises you are offering to support that claim. When we have that together, then we say we are arguing and arguing. So if I say Women like money. Dr. Miles is a woman, so she likes money. I just argue. I didn't use anybody. I use myself in passing. Women like money. Dr. Miles is a woman, so she likes money. That's an argument. What I really want to say is that what? Women like money. Excuse me. What I really want to say is what? Dr. Miles likes money. Look at my conclusion. So that's the conclusion. That's what I really want to say. What are my reasons for saying what I want to say? Oh, she is a woman and all women like money. That's what I am saying. You see that some of the things I'm saying may not be true for everyone, but it is not the truth we are concerned. It's the logic of it, the reasoning pattern. All women like money. Nancy is a woman. Therefore, like all women, she likes what? Money. The reasoning is valid. You're going to learn that. So apart from knowing the types of argument, we would also know, so your second thing, your target, write it down, is we will distinguish validity from what? Invalidity. We'll distinguish valid from invalid. Then next to that, right, into bracket, deductive, D for Daniel, deductive. I'm telling you that it is only deductive argument, whatever they mean, you don't know yet. We'll know deductive in a jiffy. But keep it now in your pointer that it is only deductive argument that can be either valid or invalid. The word valid or invalid is used to describe only one of the types of arguments, the one that we call deductive. Okay, so if an argument is not a deductive argument, it cannot be valid or invalid. Validity won't be describing that argument. It is only deductive arguments that have the ability or the description valid or non-valid. Okay. So at the end of our discussion, when you know the types of arguments and you can clearly identify one, you should also know the types of validity that there is. These are all how we think naturally already. But the logician has coded them, codified them, given them names for easy referencing. Okay, so you will do fine, don't worry. That's the second thing we must know by the end of today's discussion. The others are quite technical, but we'll manage. You should know sound. I put it back. So no valid, no sound argument. You would have to understand what a sound argument is by the end of this discussion. Now into bracket, right? When the argument is already valid. So write valid plus true premises. That is what sound means. Into bracket. So you write your sound down. That's the third thing you should know. Only 3 things, not plenty. When you write sound there, you are explaining what we mean by sound argument. It is what? An argument that is first of all valid plus true premises. Its premises are true. Premises just means the reasons you offered are also true. Okay, close that. Now, so let's take off. I want a very good reader with a good background, please. Let's make the best of the time we have together. Raise your hand if you are one, please. Thank you very much. Madam Cecilia Koto, start for us. Thank you. Go ahead. Please read what you see on my screen now.
Okay, so what we have here is deduction versus induction. These terms describe 2 types of arguments.
This can be a possible question for your interim assessment that I have finished setting. I'm just polishing up. Go ahead, Auntie.
All right, 2 ways of reasoning. That is 2 ways of supporting a claim with evidence or evidences. Deductive arguments. If the premises are true, then the conclusion is also necessarily true already.
Excellent. I like how you read it too, sister. Sister Cecilia. God will bless you for us. Necessarily true already. Brian, sister Adua, please listen. If an argument is deductive, it means if the premises are true. If we were to assume that the premises were true, it means the premises may not be true. But if we were to assume it to be true, say, yeah, funny say, premises near no crea. Go on, call out premises say, if we were to take the premises to be true, it will require that the conclusion too must necessarily be true also. Otherwise, we will create a contradiction. Otherwise, there will be a tension. Contra means opposite, dictionary, language. So there will be opposite language. There will be tension if we don't do that because of how you spoke. It will be speaking like the one who said the bachelor is beating his wife. What a problem, you see? So if a reasoning is deductive, Madam Cecilia read it, I didn't say it. She says if it is deductive, then it simply means when you assume the premises to be true, it will require that your conclusion must also be true. Otherwise, there will be a contradiction created. That kind of reasoning is described as a deductive argument. You deduced the conclusion from the premises. You took the conclusion directly from the premises. Okay. For example, so sister, I will come back to this, your slide, but hold on for us for a minute. Let us go and see some examples to help us understand deductive argument. Then we'll come back. Please, could you kindly read two types of argument? The first one we say is deductive. Sister, please read it for us. Let's diagnose.
So, under the deductive, we have one is all students write exams. She writes exams.
Okay, we lost you a little. So all students write exams. Amma is a student. Remember the first one, the first premise says all students write exams. Then the next premise said Amma is a student. Amma is a student. But we know something about all students. So if Amma too is a student, then what we know about all students must apply to Amma too. Simple. That's the logic behind it. So all students write exams. Amma is a student. So comes the conclusion. So, then we have reason to believe with certainty that she writes exams. How? If we assumed that these two premises, all students write exams and Amma is a student, are true, if we take it to be true, because it may not necessarily be true that all students write exams. Some don't. Some don't write exams. They just do aptitude tests and they are done. They don't write any exam. So someone can contest this. The Amma is a student. That's Amma we are talking about. Maybe a cook, maybe a house help, learning to trade, not a student. As in learning, maybe, but she's cooking at home and what have you. See, so we can contest those two premises, but that's not in contention. We are saying if we were to assume that all students write exams, and we also assume that Amma is a student, then see, we are obliged to assume to accept this conclusion also that she writes exams. This reasoning is a deductive one. What does that mean? It means this conclusion is taken directly, deduced, look at the word, taken from it, from the premises. Let me see if I can get another example. And it is called modus ponens. It's a type of valid pattern. There are 4 patterns in your textbook. I don't know how, whether all of them going to give you quiz. But the pattern where after he said all students write exams, he said Amma is a student. You affirm the antecedent. Therefore, you conclude, so she writes exams. If we assume that these premises were true, you see that we are obliged to accept this conclusion. Okay. Now, so the class should tell me, so suppose I said, Ghanaians are hospitable. That's another way of saying all Ghanaians are hospitable. I just didn't say the all. Okay. So Ghanaians are hospitable. Otele, we all know Otele. Otele is a Ghanaian. What conclusion can you draw validly from this one? All Ghanaians are hospitable. I want a
Otele is hospital.
Hospitable.
Very good. Very good. So you now know modus ponens. You see how you know modus ponens? It's one of the valid patterns, one of the correct ways of deducing. Now, take note, we haven't learned the 2 types of argument. We are learning strategically. I've just showed you one type of argument, one way of reasoning, where you give us premises and the conclusion you draw from that premise, what? follows necessarily, like Sister Cecilia read. That's where we are now. Then we have even gone ahead to look at one example of such reasoning pattern, and even gone further to do what? To give us the name of that correct way of deducing. It means there can be incorrect ways of what? Deducing. You are deducing, you are trying to take the conclusion from the premises, but you do it wrongly. They are incorrect. That's the invalid one. Okay, but what we just saw, that example we are seeing on our screen now, is what? A valid deduction. It's a correct way of taking a conclusion out of the premises, deductive. This valid form has a very beautiful name that logicians like to make you feel, intimidated. So we like big words. Modus ponens, like the way some lawyers also do. Or the amicus curiae. You are confused. Yes. Objection, my lord. My colleague is committing petitio principi, and everybody's sitting there, and we say, yeah, they are talking. It just means our friend is begging a question or being secular. You see that? But we would like to feel important. So don't let the names scare you. It's called modus ponens, Ponens, a valid way of deducing. So this is a valid deduction. Why is it a deduction? It's a deduction because if the premises were true, the conclusion must also be true. Okay, 2 steps back, and then we'll come and see induction again. Now, Madam read deduction. Madam, please read the inductive argument for us.
Okay, inductive argument. The conclusion must not necessarily follow. That may not be true, even if the premises are true.
Very good. Now, when then do we say that a reasoning, an argument is induced? Look at the word. When we say we are inducing vomiting, maybe a child took in something poisonous and we want it to come out. We will give palm oil or something so that we'll force the vomit out. We induce it. You are forcing it. So have that in mind. It means that the conclusion we are drawing, this type of argument, the conclusion is not necessarily a part of the premise. You are forcing it. Or force it. I tell my younger level 100s here that, like the way some sisters force themselves, they force themselves on the brothers. I wish you were seeing me do the example. Like you will laugh your head. Force. It means it is not part of the premises. They're forcing that conclusion onto the premises. That means it is possible for the premises to be true, yet the conclusion false. Induction. That's what we are dealing with now. Okay. Madam read it nicely. So she said, as for inductive argument, even if we assume the premises to be true, we are not obliged. It's not necessarily the case that the conclusion drawn must also follow. That is how you test. That's the litmus test. So back to our slide that has the example there. We'll go quickly. Sister, please read inductive, the second one down there.
Okay. Therefore, she is hospitable.
Okay, most Ghanaians are hospitable. My mother is a Ghanaian, therefore she is hospitable. Do we realize that even if we assume that it is true that most Ghanaians are hospitable, and we also assume that my mother is a Ghanaian, the conclusion, therefore she is hospitable, does not necessarily follow. I hope we can all see that, because our mother here could be part of the few left. Most Ghanaians doesn't mean all Ghanaians. So if I said most Ghanaians are hospitable, and I said my mother is a Ghanaian, therefore I want you to accept by force that she's hospitable. You can tell me that, oh, well, yes, even if most Ghanaians are hospitable and your mother is a Ghanaian, doesn't necessarily mean, see the language, doesn't necessarily mean she's hospitable like them, because you said most, and she could be part of the few. So here, the conclusion we are drawing that she's hospitable is induced, forcing it. That's the whole distinction between the two types of argument. In one instance, if we were to accept the premises, we will have to also accept the conclusion because of the nature of the relationship between the premises and the conclusion. It's a logical relation. It's a necessary connection between premises and conclusion. That one is what? Deduction. Whilst induction is not a necessary one. So you won't generate any contradiction if you were to accept the premises and yet reject the conclusion. It's as simple as that. You see that you are champions. And so if I said she's the last, whose name will I see? Let me see. If I said Nanaya is the last person who left the lecture hall last, or I work with my TAs here. We have done some grading or reading, whatever. Then when we finish, we left. The next morning, I can't find my machine or my whatever, my phone or something. Then I say, I can't find my phone. Then one of the TAs said, oh, I think that it is TA Asimisi that took it. I said, why? I said, oh, but she was the last person who left yesterday. No, Madam Lecturer, she's going to take action. Based on what? The fact that someone is the last person who left the room, even if we grant that, doesn't necessarily mean, therefore, he or she stole the laptop. Can you see that? Because you're the one telling me that she's the last person who left the room. You yourself, you are suspect. Even the owner of the laptop is a suspect. Be a dream. Open your mind. Why? Critical thinker. People steal their own laptops. People shoot themselves in the car. That's happening in Ghana here. So that they will create a certain sense of insecurity in the nation. People do that. People steal their own laptops so that they can do contribution and pay for it. They should buy a new laptop, because if you don't pay as roommates, you are in trouble. Senior house mistress, you have to have a very broad perspective to life as a critical mind. Okay, so what? So granted that the premises were true, in our second example on the screen, I hope that the gentleman who couldn't see then can see now. Okay, if we even grant our premises to be true, we are not obliged necessarily to accept this conclusion. That is why the second one on our screen here is inductive reasoning, inductive argument, while the first is deductive argument. Your textbook gives you so many examples, so many of them that you should practice. And suggested answers are the last part of the book. Those who don't know, your textbooks have suggested answers at the end of the textbook, suggested, so that you can critique some of them if you think that you have objections, or you can run them by some of us who can help you. All right. So Madam got that, and we have met our first target this evening, which is what? To distinguish deduction from induction. So you would see that I didn't say when there are general premises leading to a particular conclusion, or when there are particular. I didn't use general to particular and particular to general to distinguish deduction from induction. I didn't, because some textbooks say so. That's why we have referenced the UG's required textbook, because that categorization is wrong. Which categorization is one? The wrong one, which says, oh, if you want to know the difference between induction and deduction, it's simple. It's a wrong one, friends. It says deduction moves from general premises to a particular conclusion. So it starts from all so and so, therefore it ends with a particular, like the one we have. All students write exam. Amma is a student, so she writes exam. Whilst induction moves from particular to general. We tell them that that's problematic at this stage. It's like saying that women can be distinguished from men by the long hair. So women have long hair and men have short hair. That's not a clear way of distinguishing a man from a woman. Because some women have short hair and some men have long hair. Okay, so look, if I say, let me use names that I see there. If I say Sarah is taller than Nanaya, and Nanaya is also taller than Derek. I say it again. Sarah is taller than Nanaya, and Nanaya is taller than Derek. Then it has to mean that Sarah is taller than Derek. Deductively, A is taller than B, and B is taller than C. Does it then mean that A is taller than C? Necessarily, yes, it does. If it were true that A is taller than B, and it's also true that B is taller than C, then it has to be true that A is taller than C. Deductive is a deduction, but there is no all so and so have done so. There's no universal in it. So the one who is telling you that the difference between deduction and induction is that one moves from particular to general, while the other one moves from general to particular. It's misinforming you. You go and call a brother, hey, Sister Ajwa, because of his long hair that he's going to use to do his music. We'll have a problem. Okay, so that is for you to know. It's in your textbook. That's attached on it. The correct way of distinguishing the two is what I've told you. For deduction, if the premises are true, the conclusion must be true, else you create a contradiction. Whilst for induction, it is possible for premises to be true, conclusion false, no contradiction created. Finito. We are so done. Thank you. Now we'll go quickly up. So Madam read that nicely for us. Unless there's a question, I see hands up. I wish I could cover some few grounds and then I'll take your question. Remember, we have seen one type of valid deduction. Okay, the name is modus ponens. And I was going to ask some practice questions on that. See this screen. Maybe Madam should read it. Sister Cecilia, if you're not too tired, please read, else your colleague will take over.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Argument, a passage that contains a single conclusion that is presented as a logical consequence of reasons, that is premises or evidence of it. Thus, hence, therefore, so, indicates conclusions. Since, if, when that, provided, indicates premises, that is reasons or evidence.
Thank you very much. So that is the point I wanted to make, that those words that Madam read should show us conclusions. They are indicators. They point to the conclusion if you have an argument there. Not that anywhere you see so, it means it's an argument. You may see a so, and where you find it is not in an argument, it's just a narrative. So you should be able to tell first that it's an argument. Then where the so is in that argument is indicative of what? A conclusion. All right. Then the others are indicative of premises. And then Madam showed us this, so we are done with this slide. Surely, but steadily we are going. You know modus ponens now. Let's try our hands on some of the valid forms. We are focusing now on the first type. We are supposed to learn 4 of the valid patterns. The first one is modus ponens. Now, typical pattern is what you see there. All students write exams. Amma is a student, so she writes exam. Let's develop a modus ponens argument, and I'll ask some of you to answer. So please be on standby. Modus ponens argument. Our universal statement will be, let's start with all Ghanaians are friendly. Something positive. All Ghanaians are friendly. Write it down. We are going to use the name Kojo to develop a modus ponens valid argument. All Ghanaians are friendly. Let's use Kojo and then develop a modus ponens valid argument. What should be the next premise? After all Ghanaians are friendly, what should we say next using Kojo? All of us, you can unmute. I want a chorus.
Kojo is a Ghanaian.
Therefore, so that would be the, see how you are Shabri. Shabri, so Kojo is a Ghanaian. Now let's conclude together validly. Therefore,
is friendly.
Very good. Very good. Therefore, Kojo is friendly. It's just a pattern. That's all. It's nothing. It's a pattern, like the password on your phone. Zip it to unlock or lock it. Okay. So I could give you one premise and conclude for you, and tell you to introduce the hidden premise, like magic, like with prophetic unction. You will do it easily. So I could say, all dogs bark. Dog as in dog, bark, whoa, 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 dog. Okay, all dogs bark. Then I conclude, therefore, my pet barks. Okay, all dogs bark, therefore, my pet barks. What's the hidden premise? Chorus answer.
My pet is
a dog.
Very good. By what valid pattern?
Second premise.
Modus ponens.
Modus ponens. Very good. When I say by what pattern, I'm asking which valid pattern did you use to get to that hidden premise? You see that it was by modus ponens. Modus ponens. Okay. Very good. Now let me show you what else I can do. I meet you all again, then we'll work that one. What else can I do? I can give you the two premises and ask you to give a valid conclusion to the given argument above, showing clearly the pattern of reasoning. See, so now I'll give you all the two premises and ask for conclusion. Then I could say, cats are mammals. My pet is a cat. What valid conclusion can you give? Therefore,
My pet is a mammal.
very good.
Therefore, my pet
your
is
pet
a
is a
mammal.
mammal.
Very good. That is what we have done. And you see, you are doing it. I'm not the one doing it. You just need to know the pattern. And because it is a normative law, remember, there is a way to do it. You don't have your own and I don't have mine. It's not something that is open to contestation. No, it's not an essentially contestable thing. No, it's a closed system. That's the rule. You can't stand it, it will work out. So to speak. Okay, so it is the law of logic. One of them is what we are studying. Modus ponens. It's a valid deductive pattern where you have a universal statement. The antecedent is affirmed. Then it means you can also conclude by affirming the consequent. All this big bro I've said is what we have done already. You know it already. I just need to show you that. Don't let the big profit that people are throwing left and you understand the concept. The concept is this. If you study, then you will pass. Then I conclude, therefore, you passed. What is the hidden premise? I say it again. If you study, then you will pass. Then I concluded, therefore, I passed. What's the hidden premise? Then I studied.
I studied.
I studied.
Well done. So, yes, so, granted. So that when you have premises that if you were assuming it to be true, you will be required to accept the conclusion. Then we say you have a deduction. Then the type of deduction you've done correctly is what will tell us whether it is a modus ponens, a modus tollens. I've introduced the second one, hypothetical syllogism, or disjunctive syllogism. Don't let the words overwhelm you. They are like our surnames. But we manage it. So on the screen now, up here, you see modus ponens, modus tollens, disjunctive syllogism, and hypothetical syllogism. Take it a chunk at a time. If you take the whole yam slice on the plate into your mouth, it will choke you. But if we are cutting it bit by bit, we will eat a full saucepan of yam. No one will see how we eat it. So let's go slowly. If you try to say, "Now you be bringing a coffee, so I don't know that we are done," you get overwhelmed. I'm telling you that you just know modus ponens with Vim. You can even conclude if I give you the premises. You can introduce the hidden premise. If I gave you one premise and concluded, and so on. You see the one that get ready to write something down. The one that I gave you one premise and then a conclusion and told you to introduce the hidden premise. That way of reasoning where you give me what? One premise and a conclusion. Then I tell you to introduce the hidden premise. Your textbook has put a name there for you. It's called an entemy. ENTHYME. It is there. E for Emmanuel, N for Nancy, EN. Die, like God, die, THY. Then M for Mama, E for Emmanuel, another M for Mama, another E for Emmanuel. So it's endyming, but it is pronounced entemy. Okay, it's just a technical word describing that kind of deduction where you have what? Two premises leading to a conclusion, but you have taken out one of the premises. Okay, let me say it that way. So a premise and a conclusion with a hidden premise. That's an entemy. I hope that's okay. Then you will see that all our reasoning so far, whether deduction or induction, so far the ones we've done, let me show you. See on the screen now. You have two premises and then a conclusion. Two premises a conclusion. All students write exams. Amma is a student. So she writes exams. See that there were two premises which led to a conclusion. Every reasoning pattern, every deduction that has for two premises leading to a conclusion is described as a syllogism. Syllogism. That is why you will see on our screen one. Look. Modus ponens and modus tollens are also syllogisms. Yes, sir. Oh, ma'am. They are all syllogisms. I should spell it. Should I spell? You said I should spell it.
No, I mean the meaning of the syllogism.
Yes, so when you have two premises, I was going to it again. When you have two premises and a conclusion, okay, two reasons, two premises and one conclusion, what you have created is called a syllogism. It's just the label we give. And I was explaining why it is then that you see that, look on your screen, you see that after modus ponens and modus tollens, the next two are called disjunctive syllogism and hypothetical syllogism. Okay. In fact, modus ponens and modus tollens are also syllogisms. They are two premises leading to a conclusion. We could have said modus ponens syllogism, hypothetical modus tollens syllogism, but we don't add it. So don't be deceived when we say which of the following is not a syllogism. Look, which of the following is not a syllogism? Modus ponens, modus ponens is a syllogism. It is. And tollens is also a syllogism, just as the disjunctive syllogism and hypothetical syllogism. So I put those two in. I put those two inputs there. Remember, enthymeme and what? Syllogism. I've just added that to what you already know. You know deduction. You can distinguish deduction from induction. And then you know one type of a valid deduction, not an invalid one, correct way of deducing. You can even work with it. When I give you enthymemes, you can easily fill in the gap because you know your modus ponens, and that's good. Now, when we have an argument that is valid, I'm introducing the third one, soundness now, okay? When we have an argument that is valid, already valid, and then the premises are also true, actually true out there, then we will say that that argument is sound. Sound. So sound is a higher quality than validity. Okay? If an argument is sound, it is a higher quality. It means it is already what? Valid. The conclusion follows the premises wherever it goes correctly. So it's valid. And then the premises also are actually true. They are not falsehoods. They are true out there. If you observe, it is true. So it is a valid argument whose premises are true. All of the premises, not one. All of them are true, actually speaking. And we say, oh, this is sound. See? So our example, now tell me, the example on our screen now that Sister Cecilia read for us. All students write exams. Amma is a student, so she writes exams. We already said it is valid. In fact, we even know the valid part, that is modus ponens, the P1. So it's valid. But are all the premises true?
No.
No.
Yes, madam.
Hey, no. The premises are not true.
Madam, they are true.
Okay, am I a student? Which am I talking about? You see that? So it is not sound. Can you see that? It is not sound.
Yeah.
But if I said, for example, so you can write it on your notepad. All birds fly. A dove is a bird. Therefore, a dove flies. All birds fly. A dove is a bird. Therefore, a dove flies. And I asked you, is this sound or not? What would you say?
It's the sound.
It's sound.
Madam, it's not sound.
When I ask you, why is it
Madam,
sound?
it's not sound.
Very sound.
It's not sound.
It's sound.
It's sound.
Madam, it's not
Yes,
sound.
that's right.
All this lie. So
It is
Hello,
sound.
sound.
Let's explain. Let's explain. It is sound because, first of all, the argument is a valid one, a valid deduction. Which one? Modus ponens. I said all birds fly. A dove is a bird. Therefore, a dove flies. I didn't say a dove flies, therefore it is a bird. We'll learn that later. So it is valid, modus ponens, which we have learned. Then the premises are all true. It's true that birds fly.
And
It's
a
true
dove is
that, yes, it's true that a dove is a bird. So this is a sound argument. It means it's not just valid. It's not just valid, its premises are all true. Okay. Now we have hit
Madam,
all.
but ostrich is dead.
Yes, they fly. You think that flying means flying for long? An ostrich can fly. Chicken, the same thing. They jump. Okay. All right.
Okay, madam.
Madam, what of
Yes.
chicken?
Oh, Brian, chicken to fly. Hey, now who to down? Christmas akuko. There it is on the tree. It's not coming down. They fly. So that they don't fly for long. Okay, let's continue. This one too.
Madam, please, I have a question.
Okay, sir. Are these questions, all the hands up, are they questions? Let me take the one who has a question. Go ahead. We have hit our target. Anything I add is bonus.
Okay, so I would love to ask that with the deductive argument,
Yes, sir.
are we always going to meet two premises that are valid, or sometimes the premises can be 3 or 4, but at the same time valid?
Yes, they can be valid. They can, yes, we are just dealing with syllogisms. Your textbook gave you only 4 syllogisms. If those of us doing the students I teach with philosophy, they have about 30 something valid parts. Constructive dilemma, whatever. But your textbook, we are working strictly with the textbook so that we don't get you disoriented. And then more importantly, this is introductory content in logic. So you can't do everything. So they gave you syllogisms, and you have already understood syllogisms. 2 premises leading to a conclusion. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You are most welcome. I really wish I'll
Madam.
take all this, but can I just quickly, if you don't mind, can I just quickly sum it all up for you so you get a concrete thought? I don't want it scattered in your thoughts. Then I'll
Okay.
take all the questions. Why? So see on our screen now, what have we learned? We have learned to distinguish deductive argument from inductive argument. 2, we know sound argument. If the deduction is validly done, one of such valid patterns is what? The one your book wants to do is modus ponens. I'll show you 2 lines in no time. The hypo and disjunctive is almost intuitive. So when we do it in 2 minutes, you'll see. Okay, so if it is valid and the premises are true and it is sound, it is only deduction that can be either valid or invalid. As for induction, is already invalid. Inductive argument can never be valid. An inductive argument can never be valid. The I one, inductive argument, can never be valid because originally its conclusion doesn't follow necessarily from the premises. We saw that. He was the last person who left them, therefore he stole the laptop. No, not necessarily. Most Ghanaians are hospitable. My mother is, therefore she's hospitable. Not necessarily. So already inductive argument cannot be valid. They are already invalid. You see that? That's why we don't worry them with validity or invalid. Because even know that sorry, invalid. Invalid. It already knows that it's invalid. So you don't go asking them validity. But deduction can be either validly done, correctly done, or invalidly done, incorrectly done. See that? So look at our modus ponens that we've learned, that we are so proud of now. In all the instances, we said, for example, the one on our screen, all students write exams. Amma is a student, so she writes exams. I gave another example down there. Let me find that. All mangoes are fruits. The one there is modus tollens. I haven't introduced you to that, so I want to go slowly. So you write it down yourself. All mangoes are fruits. Then I say, what I'm holding is a mango. Then it means what I'm holding is what? A fruit. That will be valid. Now, one more. Let's use another one. All women are human beings. That will get you very well. So let's use that. all women are human beings. Modus ponens will say, Ajo is a woman. Therefore, Ajo is a human being. That would be valid. But imagine I said, all women are human beings. I'm showing the wrong one now. All women are human beings. Then the next premise says, X, let's use a variable so we don't get confused with the name. So all women are human beings. Then I say, listen, I say, X is a human being. Therefore, I want to conclude that, therefore, X is a woman. Can you see that that is problematic?
Yes.
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 Very good.
Because you can't conclude that
Yes.
X is
I
a.
cannot conclude that exactly.
Whether
Yes,
X is
like,
adjective
yes.
or
They look so much alike, but I'm not saying the same thing as the first one. Okay.
Yes.
If I say that all A's are B's, let's use variables now. People will think it's because of the name. It's not the name. So I'm using variable. You get the logic of it. All A's are B's. Modus ponens says, tell me that this thing is an A. Then what I know about A
Therefore,
should apply. You see that? So all A's are B's. This thing is an A. This thing is an A. Then I can be sure that then it is a B. That's modus ponens. But you are telling me all A's are B's. Then you say this thing is a B, so I should take it by force that it will be an A. No, not necessarily.
No, because the thing is not certain.
Very good. Now let me use examples which will help you. So you see why that will be an invalid deduction. It is a deduction, all right, but it's an invalid one. You're not doing it validly. So it will create a problem for you. All mangoes are fruit means all mangoes are inside the set of what? Fruits. Venn diagram. Those who did a little Venn diagram. So the circle of mangoes is inside a big set, the rectangle of what? Fruit. Mangoes are inside the set of fruit. Do you realize that in that same set, there will be bananas? Bananas will be inside the set of fruits too, isn't it?
Of course, yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
But
yes,
bananas
yes.
are not mangoes.
Yes.
So banana will be maybe
But it's also
triangle.
a fruit.
Very good. So banana will be a set of triangles, still inside the rectangle, the big rectangle. They are all inside the
which is the
rectangle. Exactly, but they are different. Mango, banana, maybe sugarcane. Someone said, and then alugun. No, someone mentioned, and then both fruit or something. I laughed my head off. So inside the rectangle, inside the rectangle, you see triangle of banana. Then you see circle of mango. Let's use only the two. There will be several others, but let's use only the two. Now, if I say all mangoes are fruit, I'm just saying that all mangoes are inside the set of fruits. It doesn't mean that everything inside the set of fruit is mango. There will be others. Therefore, let's see the logic of it. So when you tell me the correct one, modus ponens is this. All mangoes are fruits. The next premise says, what I am eating is a mango. That means if what I'm eating is X variable X, I'll put X inside the circle, mango. Then it has to follow necessarily that it is what? A fruit, because after all mangoes are already inside the big set of fruit. That would be valid. But when you tell me that all mangoes are fruits, then your next premise tells me this thing is a fruit. So I should accept by force that therefore it is a mango. It doesn't follow deductively. Because this thing is a fruit, therefore it may be a banana. It may be a banana. Okay, so the invalid one, I'll repeat myself again. Okay. Yeah, so the reasoning pattern, the correct one for modus ponens is all mangoes are fruit. This thing is a mango. Therefore, we can conclude that it is a fruit. That's valid. What you shouldn't say is all mangoes are fruits. This thing is a fruit. So we should assume, therefore, that it is a mango. You have changed the reasoning pattern. I hope you can see that.
Yes, yes, madam.
Okay.
Yes, madam.
Yes.
Yes, madam.
Is that a formal
Yes.
fallacy?
Yeah. So if you are looking on my screen, see, if I say all students write exams, Amma is a student, so she writes exam. That's valid. because I know something about all students. So I affirmed student, the first student, and then I concluded with this. The wrong one is to say all students write exams. Shh, keep quiet, please. Amma writes exam. Oh dear, who is unmuted? Please keep muted. Let me help you here. Because that's why we will trick you. The questions are already set. That's what gets people. They are used to the way we think every day. They are not trying to be critical, okay, and detail oriented. So sometimes it gets at them. If I say all students write exams, the wrong one is after this universal, they say Amma writes exam. So we should conclude therefore that she's a student. Your logic will be wrong. All students write exam doesn't prevent all doctors too from writing exams or lecturers from writing exams. They may not be students, but they will write exams. You see? So all students write exams. What you can logically deduce is that Amma is a student. Therefore, like all students, she writes exam, valid. You shouldn't say all students write exam. Amma writes exam, so we should say therefore she's a student. No, that is trying to do modus ponens, but you're doing it wrongly. It's called affirming the consequent fallacy. We'll learn the fallacies later. If I add all, you'll be overwhelmed. So I'm taking them slowly. Now see some examples on the screen. I want to give you the modus ponens thing. Look on the screen, please, respectfully. Let's end nicely. Please, Sister Cecilia, do us the honors, the types of valid deductive forms. Modus ponens. I want you to read the red. If Madam is a little occupied, let's get someone else to read for us.
Types of valid deductive forms.
Types of valid deductive forms.
Hey.
Valid.
Valid syllogistic forms. Let's read modus ponens, the red one. I'm showing you the valid one.
All mangoes are fruit. This thing,
Mangoes are fruit. This one is a mango, so it is a fruit.
Thank you very much. This is correct. It's valid. It's called modus ponens. See up there. Okay. Now the wrong one, trying to do modus ponens, but does it wrongly, counterfeit, is this one. It tells you all mangoes are fruits. This thing is a fruit. It comes to affirm the fruit. This thing is a fruit. Then it says, therefore, it is a mango. That is not valid. It's invalid. It's also deducing, but deducing wrongly. That's why we say it's invalid. It won't follow necessarily. Okay, very good. Now, now I'm ready to introduce the next one, the next type of valid pattern. It is called modus tollens. Look at the name. Tollens. So I call this one Timothy and I call this one Paul. They are all modus. So modus is not a problem. But the Paul and the Timothy, that's how I call it. The second one I'm going to use modus tollens. Very simple. It's also valid. But the pattern is not the same as the ponens one. So see, all mangoes are fruits. They start the same way. See, that's why they are all modus. All mangoes are fruit. This one too. All mangoes are fruit. But look at what is happening. The second premise is this thing is not, I'm introducing a not. So it's not a fruit. Then it is not a mango. Can you see that? I hope you can see it. The thing is not even a fruit at all. Then it cannot be a mango. See that? So it starts with a negation of the consequence. All mangoes are fruits. Then I said, this thing I'm holding is not even a fruit. It's not even a fruit. Mangoes, they are fruits.
So be background
what I'm holding is not even a fruit. Then the conclusion is it is not even a mango at all. Because if it is a mango, it will be inside the set of fruits. Now what I'm holding is not even inside the big rectangle. How can it be inside the small circle that is inside the rectangle? See, it's outside of it. So let's practice ponens and tollens. I'll give the universal statement, then we'll create it together. Okay. Let's do if you study, then you will pass. It's a universal that has been captured as a condition. If you study, then let's use copy. If you study, then somebody's gadget is giving us feedback. Check your movement, please. If you study, then you will pass. By modus ponens, what should be the next premise? Kofi did not pass. Kofi did not pass. Then they started. Therefore, Kofi did not study. So let's go and see.
Did not study.
If you are doing tolerance, we turn everything upside down, check. So we are bringing the second one that normally we shouldn't bring, and we are bringing that first. This thing is not a fruit. We bring it first. And because we are bringing the consequent first, that's the second part. We negate it. So we say this thing is not a fruit, then it means it is not a mango. Okay. So Kofi, the investor.
Madam, please, are we ending now?
If you study, then you will pass. My husband and my children are waiting for me. I'll give you 10 minutes. If you study, then you will pass. Listen, if you study, then you will pass. Kofi did not pass. Therefore, it means Kofi did not study. That's valid.
Study.
We brought the consequent first and concluded with what? The antecedent. The second one rather came first, negated. He did not pass. Therefore, it means he did not study. Valid. Let's try another. Women are
stolen can be denied the consequence.
What is stolen can be what, please?
It's like denying the consequence.
Yeah, that's the name. You start with the consequence. Look on the screen, this one. The fruit is the consequence. You start that first and deny it, negate it. Then you conclude by the antecedent also negated. The name denying the consequent or negating the consequent is coming from here, the second premise. Just like here, this one is called affirming the antecedent. We'll learn them slowly because of the terminology. I don't want to rush you, otherwise you give up on the way. We don't want you to do that. So let's go slowly. Now I said all mangoes are fruits. If we're doing modus ponens, we would have said this thing is a mango. Then we conclude, therefore, it is a fruit. Valid, finished.
Madam, please, what time are we ending?
Boss, you're allowed to leave.
What is that?
This guy,
Don't worry, don't worry. Be patient with him. You are allowed to leave. I'm recording. Hold on, I'm recording.
You can go.
Hold on.
Relax.
Relax.
If you want something, relax.
Okay, I muted. Listen. You are
all. Hey, please. Oh.
No problem. Don't worry. Our anxiety levels are not the same this afternoon, so everybody should chill. Don't worry. It is being recorded. We will save it. I'll upload onto my channel. Those who are on it, you get a prompt. When it is fully uploaded, I'll generate a link. I'll share, like I do with all my live sessions with you. Because we had to do some makeup. We went through all the previous discussions. I'm coming. We went through all the previous discussions and then try to fill in the gaps for your Unit 5. This year's truly sitting in front of you will examine you. We'll examine all the groups, of course, with the help of my colleagues if they have enough time. So be patient with yourselves. The content will be there. Engage it. I am not in a rush at all. Better to know a little and do it well. So you can use that to build on what you learn later than to rush and know everything. When I ask you sound argument, you don't know. You see that? So that's the philosophy I teach with. And so my brother who has to, maybe you have to be somewhere or you are concerned about my health, you can see I'm tired. Thank you for the concern. Feel free and exit anytime. It's being recorded. I'll send the link. Okay. All right. Now I'll say those who have questions, stay on a little bit more. I'm almost done. I'm wanted by all over the place. I'm a mother of 4. I tell you all the time, young ones. So I have a lot of responsibility. So I was saying that get this one, these two, then you are good. Okay. Then I can take all the questions. See the pattern very well. All mangoes are fruits. This thing is a mango. So it is a fruit. Valid. So that validity is a modus ponens one. Po. Then tolerance says you to start from all mangoes are fruit. However, right after that, bring the second one first, the consequent, bring that first. But because you are bringing the consequent right after the main statement, negate it. So this is how it goes. All mangoes are fruit. This thing is not a fruit. Therefore, the conclusion is it is not a mango. That's also valid. But this validity is not the first one. Look at the tolerance is introducing not. And then the tolerance right after the main premise. The next premise is a negation of the consequent, not the antecedent. You bring the consequent right after that, but you bring it negated. That is valid. If we got these two, then we can practice. The ladies will do modus ponens for me. The gentlemen will do modus tollens. And we'll see whether it's a ladies class or a guys class. Because, Charlie, your lecturer is a lady. Do me proud. I give the universal statement. Then you will develop either ponens or tollens for me. Let's start. All cats are mammals. I want guys to do tollens. Let's use a variable x, so that we will have a uniform answer. All of us will have a uniform answer. All cats are mammals. We are using the variable x. So if it is modus ponens, what should we say next? Okay, let's do it one. So that those who do not know will hear, because I think someone has it. X is a cat. Is it Bridget? Okay, X is a cat. Therefore, X is a mammal. Valid. X is modus. Thank you. That is modus ponens. From our universal, all cats are mammals. The sister says, if we want to do modus ponens validity, from all cats are mammals, say X is a cat. Therefore, you conclude that X is a mammal, and you will be valid by modus ponens. Now we want to use the same thing to develop modus tollens validity.
Madam, let me answer that.
X is not
That means
X is not a mammal. Therefore,
very good. I heard all of you. So X is not a mammal. Therefore, X is not a cat. Very good. When we reason that way, it's also valid, but it's a modus tollens valid. You see the way I told you. That you people are sharp. That's the thing. The rest is practice. So if you see your friend after the university, I ask him, I know your tollens and now your opponents. About you know how you see your opponents and tollens.
Madam, I'm sure for your patience for us.
Madam, what time will I be able to meet you tomorrow?
Tomorrow is Monday. I do my office hours between 12 and 2. It's on my course outline.
So can I get your contact to meet you?
My contact is there. It's on it. As for my YouTube videos, they have my phone number and everything there.
Madam.
Yes, just that it's unethical to be telling you directly like that. Focus on the content. But my contact is not private at all. It's a public document. Why?
Okay, madam.
Yes.
Yes, madam. Madam, also the textbook, I want to come for one.
Okay, so you can always let's finish the opponents and why? More practice.
Yes, madam.
Let's do some more practice. I'm finishing, so let's do some more practice quickly. I'll take all the questions when we take off the video. Listen, so practice with this one. If you have a passport, then you will travel. Opponents will be what? Let's use give me a name.
I have a passport.
Use shut up. I want you to remember my example. If you have a passport, then you will travel. Shatta has a passport. It means therefore that he will what? Travel. That's which pattern? Modus ponens. If we want to do tollens, we say Shatta cannot travel. It means therefore that he does not have a passport. That's all. That's all I came to. to tell you. As for hypothetical syllogism and disjunctive syllogism, they are straightforward. Let's do the hypo quickly. See on the screen now. Hypothetical. Oh, yeah. Oh, Mr. Ramo, let's finish. Look at. Let's finish.
Yes,
Please.
madam.
Look
Mute
at
us all.
hypothetical
Let's move within
syllogism.
2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm done. Look at hypothetical syllogism. It says all mangoes are fruits. All fruits are edible. It follows, therefore, that all mangoes are edible. Asa. 3 universal statements.
Madam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please, can anybody here?
All mobile phones are computers. An iPhone is a computer, so therefore, an iPhone is a mobile phone.
Your example is trying to do modus ponens, but does it wrongly. But it's a good example to help us. So see, you said all mobile phones are computers. Then you said an iPhone, look at what you said, an iPhone is a computer. That's what you said. You see, we should say an iPhone is a mobile phone. Therefore, we can conclude then that it is what? A computer. That would be valid, modus ponens. I hope you get it. Because you said all mobile phones are computers. That's what you said. So if it's modus ponens, we'll say an iPhone is a mobile phone, the first one. Therefore, it's a computer. That would be modus ponens. I hope you saw.
Person with the name Apia is a female. Apia is a female. Therefore, Apia is a female. So
the first statement should be a universal. So all appears are female. Something like that. It has to be a universal. Modus deals with universals that have been opened out into conditions. So your wonder is that all mobile phones are computers. Just a minute. The one that you said all mobile phones, it's a very nice example. I want to use it. All mobile phones are computers. Okay, if you want to do modus tollens, the second one, Timothy, they said all mobile phones are computers. Your next premise should say an iPhone is not a computer. Therefore, an iPhone is not a mobile phone. That will also be valid. I hope you got it. Then that will be tollens. Then I was telling you hypo. Hypo, that's all the three. They are all. Look, the two premises and the conclusion are all. There's no particular in it. There's no particular statement. So all mangoes are fruits. Then all fruits also are themselves edible. Can you see that? You create a Z. All mangoes are fruits. All fruits are edible. Therefore, all mangoes are edible. So all A's are B's. All B's are themselves C's. Then we can conclude, therefore, that all A's are C's. That is hypothetical syllogism. That one is so straightforward. All women are cheats. All cheats go to heaven. Therefore, all women go to heaven. My sisters, don't worry about the cheats. Then look at the
Madam was trying to say help.
Just an example.
Some of women are cheating. The women say, hey, mommy, so an example. We were in heaven. Now look at the last one, the disjunctive syllogism. It's not difficult. And also you're there. You either A or B. That one is an either or. That's it, either A or B. Then I tell you, not A. What have I told you?
Yeah, B.
Then it will be B. Then it will be B. See that? I give you an exam. Then I ask you, I give you an exam that I ask you true or false. Then me knowing the exam, I tell you the answer is not true.
Then it is false.
Yeah, it is false. That's the disjunctive syllogism. It's straightforward. So A or B, not A. The negation of one of the alternatives in the premises. See? Then you can conclude the other one as your valid conclusion. So hypothetical and disjunctive syllogism are not a headache at all. Our real challenge, or the one that you have to give particular attention to, is what? The modus so and so. So now we have the two. I don't know if the screen is large enough to help you view the two, so you can compare the correct and the incorrect one. And then we are so that we'll stop the video and take your question. Sister Cecilia, are you still breathing with us? Help us, eh? So you can read the If you read the correct one, I want your brother, Edward, but if you have a good background, then you read the wrong one. So we can contrast, and I think that God has been faithful. Since I read the modus ponens one, then the gentleman will read the modus tollens one to show, excuse me, the invalid pattern one. If she's not around, maybe she, go ahead. Modus ponens. Heavy smokers. Can someone hear me? Yes,
Kofi
please.
is a heavy smoker.
So
he has
lung issues. Please, you see that is modus ponens. Yes, there's no controversy about it.
Yeah, heavy smokers lung issue.
What you shouldn't say, my friends who were listening to me earlier, this is what you shouldn't say, the right side one, where you say heavy smokers have lung issues. Then you say Kofi has lung issues. See, you didn't negate, you're just bringing it like that. So we should say he's a heavy smoker. No, he could be a sickle cell patient, anemic patient. He also have lung issues. So the fact that heavy smokers have lung issues and you have established that Kofi has lung issues doesn't necessarily mean this. What you should establish is heavy smokers have lung issues and Kofi is a heavy smoker. If he's a heavy smoker, the antecedent counts, then whatever is true of the antecedent will apply to Kofi also. Okay? So this is valid. This is not valid. Then the second one on tolerance. Auntie, please read the tolerance 1-2 for me.
Hello. Heavy smokers have lung issues.
Yes, sir.
Heavy smokers have lung issues. Kofi does not have lung issues.
Very good.
He is not a heavy smoker.
Well done. So you will see that it's as if we are saying the same thing, but the validity of this first one up here, I'm pointing to on your screen, is not the same as the validity here. The earlier one is a modus ponens validity, while the second one is a tollens validity. What's the difference? They all start the same way, but then the second one, we negated the antecedent, the consequence. So we say Kofi does not have lung issues. Yes. And therefore we concluded that he's not a heavy smoker. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is another example.
I'm coming. I'll take all the examples. I want to round up. There's big boss. Then the hypothetical syllogism is also on your screen. Please read that also.
All mangoes are
yes.
fruits are edible.
All mangoes are fruits.
So all mangoes are edible. Very good. My sister, see, the wrong thing, what you shouldn't say is this, that all mangoes are fruits. Then you leave the fruits there. And come and take all bananas are also fruits. So we should conclude that because they all end up at the same place, so they are the same. Look at it very well. All mangoes are fruit. You left the fruit. You didn't bring the fruit as the next premise. See, this one, the correct one says all mangoes are fruits. Then the very fruit that has ended here began the next one. All fruits are also edible. So it creates a chain work. That's why you can cancel the fruit as a common factor and then say, therefore, all mangoes are edible. Then it will be valid. But here, you say all mangoes are fruits. You leave the fruit there. Then you come and take all bananas are also fruits. So there is no chain. They are parallel. They are not connected. Now you are concluding that therefore all mangoes are bananas. Who told you that the fact that we all have a common consequent, we all meet at one place means we are the same? We are not. The antecedent and the consequent relation that will create a hypothetical syllogism is this one, where you say all mangoes are fruits. Then you go further to say, and all fruits are themselves edible. If we were plotting on the Venn diagram, we'll have a circle inside a triangle, and the big triangle also inside what? A bigger rectangle. It will be a subset within a subset. That is how it should be. All mangoes are inside the set of fruits, and all fruits are themselves inside the set of what? Edible things. Then it has to follow that all mangoes are inside that. That's the logic behind hypothetical syllogism. You do it that way, it will be valid. The last one, I should say the lastest one, if there is any word like that, is you know the disjunctive syllogism already. We have done soundness. See, soundness. So look at all men are mortal. Socrates is a man. It has to follow therefore that he's mortal. That will be valid and sound as well. Why? It's true that all men are mortal. Mortality means all men die, of course, depending on what you call it. But this physical body dies. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. That's valid. and it is sound. But valid with false premises will not be sound. All human beings have feathers. This table is a human being. If so, then it will have to follow that it has feathers. Valid, and you know which valid pattern this is. This Paul or Timothy? All human beings have feathers. This table is a human being, so this table has feathers. Is it Paul or Timothy?
Timothy.
Timothy.
It's Paul, please. It's Paul.
Timothy will have not inside.
It's modus ponens.
It's Paul.
Ponens.
Is for
From a
negative.
distance like this, people will say modus ponens.
Hello. Hello.
Modus
I like
ponens.
the Paul.
Hello.
So this is ponens. Yes, sir. Okay.
Please, another one.
I'm coming. We are done. The slides are done. The rest are for.
Where's
Look
the
at
better
sound
ponens here?
So a sound argument must first be valid, and then its premises must be.
Hello.
And then we are so done. I wish you a
Hello.
blessed.
Madam,
Hello,
good evening.
hello,
Please,
sir. Hello, sir.
one
I take
thing.
all your
Hello.
questions now. Let me end the video. I take all your questions. Go ahead.
Please, another example is
Okay.
all
Sir,
serial.
Jackson.
And I'm busy listening.
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm listening.